Discover the incredible journey. A father's heartfelt promise to love until their baby is born in the modest town of Maplewood, nestled between sprawling cornfields and worn country roads. Excitement and anxiety coiled tightly in Jack Thompson's chest. The walls of their home, adorned with hand-me-down furniture and vintage family photos, echoed with dreams of laughter and love. He knelt, his hands on Sarah's belly, his voice husky with emotion. "I promise you, I will do everything in my power to give our child a bright future." Sarah's smile lit up the dim kitchen, and for a moment, the world faded away. They were a team, a small family already. The joy of cupcakes, soft blankets, and tiny outfits danced in the air, mixing with their laughter. The horizon felt limitless, until it wasn't. Just days before their baby was due, the local factory, the very backbone of Maplewood, shut its doors. Panic seized Jack, an icy knot tightening in his stomach. With every bill that piled on their kitchen table, shadows painted bleak streaks across their dreams. Neighbors whispered, judgment staining the air. "Look at them," they'd say, hiding behind curtains. Jack clenched his jaw. Pride fought hard against a desperate need for help. Sarah wrapped her arms around him, her support a soft balm against his disappointment. As winter crept in, snow cloaked the town, and every flaky gust carried doubt and despair. How could he protect his family when his paycheck had vanished into thin air? But within the gloom, a flicker appeared. He found an unlikely companion in Charlie, a Vietnam veteran whose unassuming presence filled the booth at the local diner. Their conversations swirled around steaming coffee cups, Charlie's stories echoing resilience. Jack learned that self-worth wasn't measured by finances, but by the strength to stand tall and lift others. "Don't bury your pride, son. Embrace the community," Charlie advised, eyes twinkling like stars. But just as Jack began to find his footing, disaster struck. A furious storm rolled through Maplewood. Winds whipped and snow piled high, knocking out power and flooding homes. Families scrambled, panic rippling through the streets. Jack watched as neighbors, once strangers, rallied together bringing supplies, checking on each other. Yet there he stood, wrestling with indecision. Should he shield his pride or step up and lead, embrace the spirit of unity that lay on the edge of chaos? The clock was ticking down to Sarah's due date, and the weight of his love for her and their unborn child blurred the lines of choice. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the storm raged, Jack's heart raced. Each snowy breath felt heavier with anticipation. He glanced at the door, hope barely clinging on. Just then, a loud knock shattered the silence, echoing through his thoughts. Who stood there on the other side? The impending arrival of their baby, whispering promises of love and resilience, confronted Jack with a powerful question. Would he rise to embrace his community's strength or shrink away under pressure? The moment had arrived, and everything hung in the balance. Jack hesitated, his heart pounding in his chest like a distant drumbeat. The knock echoed again, more urgent this time. He exchanged a worried glance with Sarah, her eyes wide and filled with that unmistakable spark of hope. "Should I get it?" she asked softly, as though breaking the spell of silence might unleash a torrent of emotion they both needed to confront. "Yeah," he finally breathed, his resolve stronger than he felt. "Let us see who it is." He opened the door, and the cold air rushed in, extinguishing the warmth of their home. Standing there, muddied and windswept, was Charlie. His face, typically warm and jovial, bore a grave seriousness. "Jack!" Charlie shouted over the howling wind, his words a commanding presence against the storm's chaos. "We've gotta help. It's getting worse out there." The words hung in the frigid air, heavy with both urgency and brotherhood. Before Jack could respond, Charlie stepped into the house, shaking off this season's white powder. "We need to rally the folks in the neighborhood. They'll need supplies and someone to lead them. You've got that spark, son," Charlie continued, eyes bright with conviction. Jack's stomach twisted. "But Sarah, I can handle it," Sarah interjected, determination flickering across her face. You have to go, Jack. Our neighbors need you now. She placed her hands on his arms, grounding him in her encouragement. You promised to protect our family. This is part of that. Jack looked from Sarah to Charlie, who nodded in agreement. The weight of the moment hung in the air. He felt caught between the safety within their home and the chaos that roared just outside their door. But the flicker of purpose ignited in his chest, warming him against the biting cold. All right, he said, a newfound conviction lacing his voice. Let us do it. Within moments, they bundled up as best they could. Jack secured his coat tightly and grabbed a flashlight. Sarah made sure he had a few granola bars in his pocket. Just in case, she said, a small smile breaking through the worry. Even though fear rippled through him, hope, too, began to break through. As they stepped out into the storm, the fury of the wind was a reminder of what stood before them, a call to embrace their community. Neighbors huddled in their doorways, concerned faces peering into the swirling gray. Jack raised the flashlight, its beam cutting through the darkness. Folks, he shouted, his voice riding the rising winds. We need to gather supplies. Let us bring what we can find and meet at the community center. A cheer went up from the crowd. That spark he had struggled to find transformed into a flame, igniting passion and urgency. Men, women, even children rushed to grab blankets, canned goods, anything they thought would help their neighbors. Jack's heart swelled as he watched them work, realizing this wasn't just about survival, but about connection. As they gathered supplies, laughter mingled with the howling winds. Inside the community center, a place known for shared meals and celebrations, people found warmth among the chaos. Jack felt a surge of encouragement. They were stronger together, and a bond was forming that neither despair nor the storm could break. But just as things began to settle, Sarah's memory stirred in the back of his mind, and worry crept back in. He had left her behind, and there was still no sign of their impending bundle of joy. Jack! Charlie's urgent voice broke into his thoughts. We need to stay alert. I've got a bad feeling. Jack's heart sank. What do you mean? Charlie squinted into the storm, anxiety spilling over from their earlier conversation. Things might get worse. You should head back. The thought of leaving their community fight now seemed absurd. He would still need to protect Sarah and their unborn child. Did he have time to prepare? As the wind howled more fiercely and the sky loomed darker, Jack wondered if this storm had yet to unleash its full fury and what that would mean for him and his family. Are we in danger? He asked, both for Charlie and himself. Stay together. We'll find a way. As Jack looked into the faces of the people he had once barely known, his resolve hardened. This town was fighting alongside him now. The question was whether he could hold on to that fighting spirit as everything around him threatened to spiral out of control. When he realized how much his community had come to mean to him, a final thought loomed large: what awaited them all when the storm finally passed. Time was ticking, and he still hadn't faced the most important choice of all. Where would he stand when it mattered most? Jack's mind raced, caught between the need to protect his family and the tug of his growing responsibility to those who had come together. He took a deep breath, steadying himself against the gusts that whipped around him. The community center buzzed with activity, a hive of energy amid the chaos, but somewhere inside him, the gnawing worry for Sarah persisted. Charlie, can you keep everyone organized? Jack asked, urgency spilling from his voice as he glanced back at the warmth of the center. I have to check on Sarah. I can't focus on anything else until I know she is okay. Charlie nodded, catching the flicker of fear in Jack's eyes. Go, buddy. We need you strong for her. You'll be back before you know it. His encouragement cut through Jack's anxiety, and he turned, sprinting back toward their home. The wind shrieked as Jack pushed against it, each step feeling like a battle against the storm's might. The familiar trees in the neighborhood swayed menacingly, the branches creaking like old bones. As he neared his front porch, he hesitated, caught in the moment. What if something went wrong? What if he wasn't there in time? He shook off the doubts and flew through the front door, the warmth of their home enveloping him like a protective cocoon. Sarah, he called, voice echoing against the walls as he searched the living room and the kitchen. Panic gripped him, twisting his heart as the silence answered back. In the dim light, he spotted her sitting on the edge of their bed, a small hand resting gently on her belly. The sight tore at him, a magnet pulling him closer, and yet pushing him back into the chaos. Her eyes lifted to meet his, filled with a mixture of relief and fear. I was getting worried, she sighed, a smile chasing the shadows from her face. I thought you'd forgotten about us. I would never, he replied, rushing to her side. He crouched down, putting his hand over hers, feeling the flutter beneath. Are you okay? Is everything all right? I'm fine, really, she reassured him, but her voice trembled just slightly. I heard the storm getting worse, and it made me anxious. I didn't want you to be in danger. That's what I came back to check on. The neighborhood needs me, Sarah. They're doing I know, she interrupted softly. The community is rising up. That's what makes this place feel like home. Her gaze drifted toward the window, where the storm raged with unrelenting fury. But they need you, Jack. I need you too. We can't do this alone. His heart surged with emotion as he realized the truth in her words. The fight outside mirrored the one they were facing inside. I have to go, he said, squeezing her hand tighter. I'll make sure everyone is safe, especially you and our baby. Tears shimmered in her eyes, reflecting the dim light. Promise you'll come back soon? Jack nodded, heart aching under the weight of his commitment. I promise. There's nowhere I'd rather be. As he stood, the storm's howl seemed to pulse through him, as if echoing the urgency of his promise. With one last look back, he bolted out the door again, the cold air slicing through him but fueling his determination. He could feel the adrenaline coursing through his veins, and with every step toward the community center, he envisioned not only the faces of his neighbors, but also the future of his family. When he returned to the center, he found it abuzz with voices, people helping each other, stacking supplies like a fortress against the storm. But it was the sight of the children, their laughter cutting through the chaos, that filled Jack with purpose. Yet, as he engaged the crowd, Charlie's earlier warning loomed in the back of his mind. The storm raged outside, but it was the uncertainty of what lay ahead that gnawed at him. With the wind howling louder than ever, Jack knew they were standing on the precipice of something monumental, and as he looked into the faces of his neighbors, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were all on the brink of a greater challenge. All right, everyone, let us keep moving together. Jack's voice rose above the cacophony, rallying their spirits. They were stronger as one, united in the face of adversity. But even as he spoke, a flash of lightning illuminated the center, a reminder that the storm's true test was yet to come. What if they weren't prepared for what was coming next? Let us stay focused. We're going to weather this storm, Jack said, conviction replacing his uncertainty. But as another round of thunder boomed overhead, he couldn't help but wonder, how far would they have to go to see the light again? The atmosphere in the community center shifted, electrified by Jack's words. People rallied together, fueled by a shared sense of purpose. Supplies flowed like a river, and every pair of hands felt essential, every face glowing with determination and hope. Yet, the storms outside screamed louder, rattling windows and hearts alike. Jack moved among his neighbors, offering encouragement, reminding them of their strength, but his mind still echoed with Sarah's concern. He could hardly shake the image of her eyes, full of love and anxiety, from his thoughts. He pushed against the rising tide of disquiet, diving into tasks to distract himself. He helped stack boxes of canned food, sorted flashlights, and handed out blankets while keeping a watchful eye on the entrance for any new arrivals. Jack, Charlie called, his voice cutting through the muffled sounds of the storm. Jack turned, seeing him approach with urgency. The weather is getting worse. The roof above the hall is leaking. We need to divert people to the gym for safety. Jack nodded, worry clawing at his insides. The gym was larger, but so many families were crammed into the main hall. Okay, let us move everyone. Stretching this out might be dangerous. He motioned for Charlie to help, and they together began ushering families, guiding them through the maze of shelves and tables. The children laughed, their innocence acting as a balm to the anxious adults. Jack saw a small girl clutching a stuffed bear, a shield against the raging storm. Others held each other tightly, their expressions betraying a calm exterior hiding deep fears. As they formed a line, leading everyone safely to the gym, Jack tried to soothe their worries. You're all doing amazing. Just a little further. He smiled, hoping to instill confidence, not only in them but also in himself. Once in the gym, they quickly worked to create safe zones. Parents played games with children, laughter mixing with the occasional crack of thunder. Jack watched them, feeling a warmth fill his chest, a reminder of why they were all here. This unity was a form of light. But just as the situation seemed to stabilize, the atmosphere shifted again. The sound of wood creaking caused everyone to pause. Fear rippled through the giggles, silencing the room momentarily. Another heavy crack of thunder followed, and the lights flickered then dimmed completely, plunging them into darkness. Gasps filled the air, and Jack felt the world tilt for a moment. "Stay calm," he shouted, his voice breaking through the tension. "We're okay. Just stay together." Panic threatened to swell within him, but he wrestled it down, forcing himself to be the anchor they needed. Lightning flashed again, illuminating the gathering for the briefest instant. In that light, Jack saw fear in the eyes of the adults, worry etched deep in their brows. But then he saw something else, a flicker of resolve. They were all in this together, and they wouldn't let the storm break them. With a renewed sense of purpose, Jack reached out to Charlie, whose face was a mix of apprehension and determination. "We need to keep spirits up. Any way to get some candles or flashlights happening?" "Already on it." Charlie scanned the room, spotting a table with supplies. As he moved to grab them, Jack addressed the crowd. "Folks, we're going to work through this darkness together. I want everyone to share a story or a memory, something that brings you comfort. We'll create our own light." As they began to share their stories, laughter replaced the tension in the air. Jack felt the camaraderie blossom. He could have sworn the storm outside abated, if only slightly, as the community leaned into shared memories of love and resilience. But just when he thought they might have turned a corner, the ground shook beneath them, a low, ominous rumble that had nothing to do with the storm. Jack's heart raced. What now? With serious determination, he faced Charlie, who looked just as alarmed. "We have to ensure everyone is safe. Something doesn't feel right." Jack's gut twisted in worry. The storm was one thing, but this was another entirely. What kind of challenge were they about to face? The gym felt like a pressure cooker, anxiety creeping back in among the laughter. Jack could sense the tension mounting as whispers filled the room. Every shadow seemed to loom larger, and the kids huddled close to their parents, their laughter a fragile thread holding the fear at bay. "Did you feel that?" someone asked, a tremor in their voice. "Yeah, it felt like an earthquake," another replied, clearly shaken. Jack turned to Charlie, whose eyes mirrored his own worry. "We need to do a head count," he said decisively. Keeping everyone together was crucial. Make sure everyone is accounted for. As Charlie moved to organize the families in one corner, Jack approached the group of adults, his voice steady but firm. "Listen up. We need to stay close and support one another. Let us gather everyone back together. We won't let this storm win." He could see nods of agreement, fortified by his determination. The atmosphere shifted slightly, a collective effort brewing beneath the surface. Just then, the lights flickered on again, bathing the gym in a warm glow before plunging them back into darkness. A gasp escaped the lips of a nearby child. "Everyone, please stay calm," Jack called out once more, pushing his voice to carry through the tentatively filled space. "Let us sing a song. Singing will keep us together and keep the spirits high." Some adults exchanged unsure glances, but slowly, the familiar melody of this little light of mine began to rise. Jack joined in, his voice unwavering, and soon others followed suit. The rhythmic claps of hands mixed with the tune, a beautiful orchestra against the howling winds. As they sang, Jack felt the weight of the night ease just a little. There was something heroic about fighting back against the darkness with song and community. He scanned the faces in the dim light, seeing mothers smile despite their fright, fathers holding their children a little tighter, and friends grasping each other's hands. But a sudden loud bang reverberated from above, silencing the song. The gym shook again, and Jack's heart raced. It was like thunder, but too close, too deliberate. The adults froze, dread swimming in their eyes. "Everyone, stay together," Jack shouted, his resolve steeling him once more. He stepped forward, raising his voice above the unease. "We're all here for each other. No matter what happens, we stick together." Just then, Charlie came back, breathless and pale. "Jack, the roof is leaking worse. We have to move the kids and families closer to the far corner, where the ceiling is stronger." Without skipping a beat, Jack gestured for the adults to assist. "You heard Charlie. Let us get our most vulnerable to safety." As they moved, Fear gripped Jack once more. Was it just the storm, or was there something more threatening in the air? The pounding of his heart felt out of sync with the world around him. "Come on, everyone. Stay with me," he said, wrapping an arm around a small boy who looked lost. "We're not going to let anything tear us apart." Just as they reached the far wall, another loud crash echoed overhead, this time followed by debris tumbling down. The walls trembled as gasps rippled through the gym. Jack's heart sank. This was their sanctuary, their safe haven. "Jack!" Charlie yelled, trying to be heard over the chaos. "We have to make a run for it. The storm's too strong. We can't stay here." Jack's decision burned through him. The children, the families, they all depended on him. Would he run, or would he find a way to lead them out, overcome by the uncertainty? As he stood there, the weight of their lives hanging in the balance, he made a promise silently, a vow to keep them all safe until his own heart couldn't beat anymore. What would he choose in that moment of fear? With each crashing sound, his breath grew heavy. That choice loomed before him, the stakes rising with every moment. Would he take the leap into uncertainty or find strength in the chaos? Jack's pulse hammered in his ears, drowning out the frantic whispers and the banging above. He scanned the room, searching each face for reassurance, but found only panic. The storm raged outside, its wrath unyielding, but here inside the gym felt like a different kind of storm brewing. "Jack, we can't wait any longer," Charlie shouted again, deeper urgency threading his voice. His eyes darted to the ceiling, and Jack noticed the beads of water spilling down. Time was not on their side. "All right," Jack yelled over the tumult. "Listen to me, everyone." He took a breath, steadying himself, aware of the eyes fixed upon him. "We move now. Head towards the back exit. Stay close, and hold on to each other." The crowd hesitated, fear etched in their faces like they were facing a monster. Jack recognized that hesitation well. He turned to the small boy in his embrace, whose wide eyes glimmered with confusion. "You can do this," he said softly, squeezing the child's shoulder, adding a smile meant to anchor them both. "Just follow me." The sounds of the storm roared louder, but Jack focused on the families around him, pulling them in closer. Children clung to their parents, fingers intertwined, their little faces shining with trust despite the chaos. "Let us go," he urged, gesturing to a clear path through the growing crowd. With Charlie at his side, they began moving as one, navigating through clinging limbs and anxious hearts. Just as they reached the gym's exit, another crack echoed above, so loud it felt personal. Jack flinched but pressed on, his instincts guiding him. "Quickly now," he barked, his voice a low rumble through the rising dread. The doors stood ajar, a narrow gateway of uncertain safety. Jack felt the air shift, the pressure from outside spilling in, almost tasting the wildness of the storm. Parents squeezed their children tighter as they approached. But as Jack reached the door, his resolve shook. Should they risk the outside? The darkened sky lurked like a predator waiting for them to falter. Yet, he could see the determination reflected in Charlie's eyes, a partner in this battle. "On three," Jack called out. 1, 2, 3. They dashed forward, feet pounding against concrete, hearts thundering in rhythm. A few stumbled, but Jack was there, lifting and steadying. The world beyond the gym was a whirlwind of water and wind, chaos unfolding against the backdrop of their hopes. "Don't look back," Jack shouted, urging them forward, feeling the weight of countless lives hinged on each heartbeat. What if they made it outside and the storm swallowed them whole? But he couldn't dwell on that. Hope surged within him, fierce and unyielding. They stumbled into the open, and Jack could barely see. The rain pelted against their skin, cold and stinging. "Follow the building. We have to get to the trees," he directed, grabbing the boy again as small hands gripped his own tightly. The families moved as one, hearts synchronized in a desperate, chaotic dance towards safety. Still, something hung in the air, a feeling deeper than fear. It was resolve. It was love. It was a collective promise they'd make together. Suddenly, a screeching sound cut through the storm. Jack turned, fear clawing at his throat, as a piece of the gym roof rustled dangerously. Was it the end for them, or a new path beginning? "Keep moving," he bellowed, rallying their spirits once more. The stakes were high, but Jack had never felt more alive. As they neared the trees, the wind howled louder, like a wild beast pushing against them. Would they find shelter and safety? In that moment, Jack realized the storm wasn't just a force of nature. It was a testament to their courage. Would they rise to meet it together? Just as they reached the edge of the trees, another deafening crack filled the air, leaving Jack wondering what horrors lay just beyond. What awaited them in the dark, both outside and within themselves? Branches whipped at their faces, sharp and stinging as they finally broke through the tree line. Jack could barely catch his breath. It felt like freedom, yet the shadows danced menacingly among the trunks. He turned to face the group, eyes wild with fear and determination. "Stay close," he shouted, watching as the families clustered together, huddled against the elements. The trees provided them some coverage, branches swaying overhead, but Jack wouldn't let himself feel safe just yet. As rain continued to batter their bodies, he caught sight of the boy beside him, arms wrapped tightly around his knees, shivering. "Hey, buddy," he murmured, kneeling to meet the child's fearful stare. "What is your name?" "Eddie," the boy replied in a trembling whisper, his small face streaked with raindrops. Jack's heart twisted at the sight. "Eddie, are you scared?" Jack asked, voice gentle, hoping to draw the boy from his shell. Eddie nodded vigorously, tears mixing with rain. "I want to go home, I get that," Jack answered, the weight of his own children's absence pressing down on him. "But home is wherever we're safe. We'll find a way. Together." Charlie approached, face lined with worry. "Jack, we need to keep moving. The trees can't hold forever." Grimly, Jack nodded, remembering the ominous crack above. They couldn't linger or lose momentum. "You're right. We need to head toward the ravine," he said, picturing the route they'd taken in better conditions. "Stay close, and hold on tight to each other." With every step deeper into the woods, fear grasped Jack's throat tighter. The storm was relentless, but there was something more than just fury in nature. It was a test, a challenge for them to find strength where they felt the most vulnerable. He didn't know what awaited them, but with every blinding flash of lightning, a spark of hope ignited in him. They navigated the trees, sloshing through the mud, hearts pounding, breaths hitching. Voices of encouragement bounced off the trunks as Jack led them forward. "Keep moving." "Almost there." Charlie fell back beside him, eyes scanning the path ahead. "Jack, what if we don't make it?" His voice barely rose above the storm, yet Jack could hear the fear laced in it. "We will," Jack replied firmly, though uncertainty clawed at him. "We'll find something, a place to rest, a break from this chaos. It's what we do. We keep fighting." In that moment, a crackle of thunder roared above, the sound almost like a warning, a fierce reminder of their precarious reality. Jack looked up, heart racing. What if this storm was not just the natural world tossing them about, but a force somehow linked to each of their lives? What if inside it lay buried truths or hidden paths? "Jack!" Charlie's voice cut through his thoughts. He turned back just in time to see Eddie, lost, standing still in a puddle, wide-eyed. "Eddie!" Jack yelled, lunging forward as the boy's small frame trembled. Lightning flashed, illuminating the depths of the woods for a heartbeat. Jack moved quick as he could, plucking Eddie from the muddied ground. He looked into the boy's eyes, searching for reassurance. "I've got you," he promised, and felt a jolt of warmth pass between them. The group started moving again, fear turning into steely resolve. They had each other, somehow united against a force that felt both external and internal. But just as they reached the steep incline of the ravine, the ground shook beneath them. Panic surged through Jack as the trees creaked ominously. Another sound erupted, something slicing through the air. What was that? Someone whispered. Jack felt his heart in his throat. "I don't know, but we can't stop now." What nightmare lay at the bottom of the ravine? Would it bring them salvation or something far worse? As they crested the ravine, Jack felt the ground shift beneath them, sliding and unstable. Each step was like walking on a tightrope stretched over a chasm, filled with an unseen threat. The group behind him was moving too slowly. Their fear anchored them. Jack couldn't afford to let that happen. "Come on, rush," he urged, adrenaline lacing his voice. The heavy rain soaked him to the bone, and the air was thick with tension. The crashing thunder echoed all around, but couldn't drown out the sound of his racing heart. Eddie's tiny fingers clutched Jack's shirt as he stumbled behind. Jack turned to give him a reassuring grin, but all he could muster was a tight-lipped grimace. Forcing himself to focus, He took each step carefully, scanning the looming shadows for any sign of danger. Suddenly, Charlie yelled, "Jack! Look out!" Before Jack could react, he felt something sharp lacerate the air beside him. A branch had snapped and hurtled towards him from above. Instinct kicked in, and he ducked just in time, the wood grazing his shoulder. He could feel the others hesitate, fear rippling through them. "Keep moving. We can't stop," Jack shouted again, his voice now a powerful beacon amidst the storm. He'd never felt this kind of urgency before. Lives rested in his hands. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on his chest. Jack could only think of his own children, of the warmth of their hugs, and the way their laughter could light up even the gloomiest days. "I will get us through this," he thought fiercely. As they neared the bottom of the ravine, the sound of rushing water became a chaotic melody, mixing with the howling wind. It seemed to beckon them. Just as they reached the edge of a small stream, the landscape shifted dramatically. Jagged rocks jutted out of the ground, creating a natural barrier. But beyond them boomed a fierce current. "Wait," Jack called, holding up a hand to halt the group. He could see now this was no trivial stream. It spiraled deeper into the earth, veiling potential dangers beneath its choppy surface. "Can we cross?" Charlie asked, anxiety written all over his face. "We have to," Jack answered, heart pounding. "We don't have a choice. Upstream might lead us somewhere safe." The families exchanged worried glances, but Jack steeled himself. "Eddie, hold tight to my hand. We'll go one at a time. Stay together, and don't let go." He took a deep breath and stepped into the water. It rushed up to his shins and pushed against him with surprising force. He staggered, but managed to regain his balance. "I'm here. Just focus on me." One by one they followed. It felt like eternity as he helped each person across, the rush of water growing louder, threatening to pull them under. With every step, Jack could see the fear in Eddie's eyes, mirrored in the faces around him. Finally, with a final push, he pulled them all to the other side. They collapsed onto the mud of the bank, gasping for breath. Jack turned, checking on everyone. They were bruised but alive, closer than they had ever been, forged together by the chaos. "Is this it?" Eddie whispered, looking around desperately. Jack felt the weight of that question. "It might be. But what we find here, it's up to us." Suddenly, the wind shifted, carrying a new scent, fresh soil, and something different. Hope. A spark of resolve ignited within Jack, and he stood taller, determination gleaming in his eyes. "We're going to find answers, Eddie," he said, heart racing with the possibility. "There's got to be more ahead. Something waiting for us." As the storm began to dissipate, revealing hints of light through thick clouds, Jack knew they stood at the threshold of the unknown. But what they would discover next, what lay beyond this moment, was still a mystery waiting in the shadows. Would it lead them home or further into peril? Jack blinked at the clearing ahead. The chaos and noise of the storm felt miles away, yet the tension still clung to his skin. Eddie grasped his hand tighter, those small fingers seeking comfort amid the uncertainty that loomed around them. The sun fought stubbornly with the clouds, breaking through in patches that kissed the wet ground. Jack let out a shaky breath, half a laugh mingling with relief. "Look, Eddie." The sky's lightening up. Eddie's eyes widened, reflecting a mix of hope and caution. "Does that mean we're safe?" "I sure hope it does," Jack replied, rising to his full height, feeling a spark ignite in his gut. He scanned the landscape, eager to find clues about what lay ahead. Shadows still haunted the edges of the trees, but the air smelled different now, an earthy freshness that felt alive. He stepped forward, glancing back at the group behind him. Charlie was brushing mud from his jeans while two women helped each other up, their faces determined though wearied by the ordeal. They were weary warriors, softened yet emboldened by the chaos they had faced. "Everyone okay?" Jack called out. "We're hanging in there. Just need to catch our breath," came the reply from a mother, her voice hoarse yet steady. Jack appreciated her spirit. They all needed it right now. As they pressed deeper into the clearing, Jack took in their surroundings. Towering trees framed a path that wound ahead into a dense grove. He felt an urge to explore, a pull like a magnetic force. They needed to move on, to find out what lay beyond and what this place may reveal. "Keep together," Jack insisted, sensing the group's hesitation. He didn't want anyone lost in the shadows. "Just a little further." He could see Eddie still clinging to him, and for a brief moment, Jack allowed the weight of his promises to wash over him. The promises he made when Eddie was born, the reassurance that everything would be okay, that they would always find their way home. Suddenly, a rustling sound came from the brush nearby. Jack froze, heart pounding dangerously. What was that? Eddie whispered, his voice small. Jack could feel the fear creeping back, threatening to swallow them whole. Stay behind me, he instructed, half of him satisfied that he could protect them, the other half quaking with anxiety. Every instinct told him to prepare for danger. With cautious steps, he drew closer to the sound, exhaling slowly, trying to remain calm. The bushes parted, revealing a flash of fur and a pair of glimmering eyes staring back at him. Wait, it's just a deer, Jack muttered, relief flooding his veins. Everyone inched closer, peering curiously. The deer's presence felt almost like a sign, graceful yet resolute, a reminder that life persists even in the darkest hours. As the deer bounded away into the trees, Jack felt a shift inside him. See that? It's a sign of hope. Nature's way of telling us we're on the right path. Everyone visibly relaxed, a light tension leaving their shoulders. Jack's faith in their journey began to solidify. If they could reach this moment of calm, surely they could overcome more challenges ahead. But as they moved deeper into the grove, Jack noticed shadows creeping back, settling like a cloak over them. The path narrowed, and an uneasy silence began to fill the air. Their safety felt temporary. Stay alert, everyone. We're not done yet, Jack said, voice steady. In the distance, he heard a sound he couldn't quite place, a low rumble, like distant thunder, but somehow different. What is that? Charlie asked, slowly backing away from the noise. Jack's heart sank, the thrill of their newfound hope clashing with an imminent sense of dread. What could be waiting for them around the next bend? He stepped forward cautiously, leading the group with renewed determination, hoping that this time, they could meet whatever lay ahead with strength and resolve. But as the noise grew louder, Jack realized one thing: this was only the beginning of their journey, and the true challenge still loomed just beyond the bend. Would the answers they sought push them closer together or break them apart? Jack moved forward, feeling the tension in the air thicken with each step. It felt like they were being pulled towards something monumental, but what awaited them? He glanced over his shoulder at Charlie and Eddie, who trailed closely behind. Their faces mirrored his concern, eyes darting to the darkening trees and uncertain ground. Keep close, Jack called, forcing his voice to steady even though uncertainty churned in his gut. He wasn't entirely sure where they were headed, but he had a profound sense that this was a turning point. They were choosing courage over fear. As they rounded a bend, a clearing opened up before them, vibrant with life. He could scarcely believe his eyes. What lay ahead was a sparkling stream wound through vibrant green ferns and wildflowers that danced in the soft breeze. The sun peeked through the clouds, casting a warm golden light on their path. It was a stark contrast to the storm they had just endured. Wow, Eddie whispered, eyes wide with wonder. For the first time, a genuine smile broke free from the weight of their earlier struggles. Jack's heart lifted too. Behind him, the adults began to murmur, excitement flickering amid their exhaustion. This feels different, Charlie mused, stepping forward cautiously, as if testing the waters. Like a new beginning. Jack felt the energy shift within the group. Here lay a choice: to embrace hope or retreat into past fears. He turned to them, feeling a surge of determination. This is our chance to regroup. We can finally breathe. They took hesitant steps into the clearing, allowing the peacefulness to fill them. Jack knelt at the stream, cupping his hands to take a sip. The water was cool and refreshing, washing away traces of the storm. Everyone, drink up. It's clean, he instructed, watching as smiles began to spread. The ravages of fear were slowly being swept away by the hand of nature. At that moment, the sound of laughter erupted from somewhere off to the side. They turned to see two children chasing each other around a tree, bright expressions lighting up their faces. It was a stunning reminder of the joy they sought to protect. See, Jack said, glancing at Charlie. We can make this work. If they can find laughter here, so can we. Little by little, the group began to loosen up. Families started sharing snacks they had stocked up earlier. Laughter mingled with shouts of joy as the conversations embraced newfound life. Jack felt his heart swell as he watched Eddie join in a game with the other children, showing vulnerability that had been buried under the weight of fear just hours before. But an echo of doubt tried to creep back in, a soft whisper mimicking the storm. Was this peace just an illusion? We need to find a way out of here, Jack stated, raising his voice to catch the attention of those around him. This could be a safe spot, but we have to keep moving. There's more out there. As they gathered, Jack led the way, their hearts united. Let us secure what we need and keep our eyes open. We rely on each other, he encouraged. There was a charge in the air, a promise of exploration yet to unfold. Just then, as they began to pack up, a gentle rustle arose from the trees. Jack paused, staying alert, heart racing, memories of the storm flickering at the edges of his mind. The shadows shifted, growing darker as the trees moved, but he instinctually reached for Eddie's hand, grounding him. From the depths of the brush, a figure emerged. A woman, weary and worn but with a resilient glint in her eyes. "Are you okay?" she called, her voice trembling like a fragile leaf. Jack felt an inexplicable pull of recognition as the woman stepped closer. "It's me, Margaret," she said, her features illuminated by the settling light. Gasps erupted. "Margaret, you made it." Charlie stepped forward, his face a mask of disbelief. "I went looking for you all. Never thought I'd find you," she said, relief washing over her. And with that, Jack understood. They were not alone anymore. He felt the warmth spread through him, realizing that this was what they fought for. Bonded by their trials, this community was rising, collecting all its pieces to build something stronger. As they gathered around, sharing stories of escape and survival, Jack saw the realization in their eyes. Together, despite the storms they faced, they were powerful, stronger than any chaos that might try to upend them. Days rolled into weeks as they began to form their new lives, building shelters, and supporting one another through challenges. Jack stood taller, not just as a father or a neighbor, but as a leader. Driven by love, he promised to ensure they would flourish together, to give his child not just a home, but a family bound by heart and spirit. When the next storm came, Jack realized it was simply rain, a wash of life and nourishment upon the earth. The past had come and gone, and in its wake blossomed hope. As he watched the sunset pour hues over the horizon, he felt proud, knowing their journey would inspire others and bind them in love for generations to come. This was hope, this was home. As you've journeyed with us through Jack and Sarah's story, we need your support more than ever. Subscribe immediately to our channel, so you don't miss out on our next exclusive tales of transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help bring more inspiring stories to the surface. We want to hear from you. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending below. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this transformation. They deserve to feel the strength of community and love too. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Together, we can inspire more stories of resilience.